welcome along to ACE360 demonstrating the scheduling and booking tool, which will be going live with Pearson in the next few days. I'm delighted to be presenting to you today, and the format that this is going to cover is I will cover some very quick overview of some of the other functionality on the system which has been released in the last month, and then we will very quickly move on to the particulars about the scheduling and booking tool. You should all be familiar with the logging in screen of ACE360. The environment that we are using today is a staging environment, it's a demonstration environment, and all of the data which is in this system is false data provided by the sandbox from the ESFA. When you log into ACE360, you should be all very familiar with your dashboard screen. Depending what type of user you are within ACE360 depends on how much information you see here. If you are an admin or super admin user, you will see all information which is contained within the ACE360 screen. If you are a training coordinator or a training manager, you will only see this information for the records to which you are assigned by an admin or a super admin. The reason for that is GDPR compliance. Training coordinators and training manager only need to see the records that they are working with. Some of the changes that you'll be seeing on this screen is that we now have the appeals functionality, which we will cover after the scheduling and booking tool. The gateway date has been amended to show only the last 3 months and the last 30 days for your final grade being determined passed, failed on that basis. As a gentle reminder, everything which is in the left hand, the box underneath the words apprentices at each status, is records that are with the training provider, and they are something that the training provider should be working on. As a gentle reminder, you should be adding candidates to the ACE360 system as soon as the candidate commences program. As a gentle reminder, the earlier you add the candidate to the system, the easier and better you get use of the system as a whole. Remember that if the candidate leaves their apprenticeship within the first 3 months, if you withdraw the apprentice on the system, then the credit which you have used, the token which you have used, will be automatically credited back to your account. Please do add candidates onto the system as early as possible. There are 3 ways that you can add candidates. You can either add the candidate using the new candidate add system, which looks like this, quite different to the way it used to look, and it is now built in a response to your feedback that if you incorrectly complete any section, it will automatically turn red. The second way that you can add candidates to the system is by using the bulk upload spreadsheet. If you need the bulk upload spreadsheet, please contact our support team, and the details for that will be available at the frequently asked questions section. You can then also use the LMS API. This is an automatic transfer system from your existing LMS system to send the records automatically to ACE360. Covering some of the new functionality quickly for you. Anytime you press anything on your dashboard screen, it will take you to an automatic filter showing only the records in the status that you have added. You can remove the filter by pressing the X button here, and you can add and remove different filters in different methodologies. So you can apply by filter status, which endpoint assessment organization it's working with, the start date of apprentices, the expected gateway date, the EPA ready confirmation date. You can exclude all apprentices after gateway evidence complete. You can assign no training coordinator or manager. You can exclude passed or failed. You can look at particular who is assigned to the record. You can filter by resets. You can filter by appeals. and you can filter by whether the candidate has been certified or not. All of those filters, when you apply one or more, when you apply those filters, if you hit the Export Data button, you can now export a filtered report into a CSV or Excel format. That allows you to then use pivot tables, create graphs, create charts for internal reports for your organisation. We are now going to move on to the scheduling and booking tool. I will cover the appeals functionality once I have covered the scheduling and booking tool. In effect, the appeals functionality works exactly the same way as the reset process, which you should be familiar with, does. When a candidate is approved for endpoint assessment by your EPO, in this case Pearson, and they have the booking tool switched on, Kevin, I saw your question. I'll come back to that later on for you. If the EPO has the scheduling tool functionality switched on, you can book your endpoint assessments via the scheduling and booking tool. You would do this by clicking on the booking tool icon, which is the icon on the left-hand side of the screen, which says booking tool. This gives you a sub-dashboard view of your main dashboard, which shows you the status that all the bookings which you have previously made are at and what the status of them all are. Naturally, when you first start using this tool, these will all be zeros, but as you become more familiar, the data in each of these sections becomes more valuable to you. And again, to view them, you click on them and it will take you to a filtered list. Your first starting point is to go to All Bookings tab. This will show you all bookings no matter which status they are in, unless you have applied a particular filter. To create a new endpoint assessment booking, you press the Create Booking button and it takes you to a filtered list. It will take you to a filtered list of all apprentices who have been accepted for endpoint assessment by your EPAO. To find a particular apprentice, you can search by their name, or you can scroll through the list. So in this staging environment, there are 27 candidates here who are in an endpoint assessment state. For the purposes, I'm going to click on Chelsea Mason. Next. Chelsea is going to book her online knowledge test for the purposes of this. I appreciate in some standards it will be a face-to-face face-to-face assessment and not an online knowledge test. I will show you briefly how to do both, but in the majority of standards at the moment, it's an online knowledge test or a virtual interview because of the prevailing situation we're in at the moment. I'm going to select the component which you are delivering or which the candidate is ready for endpoint assessment for and wish to make a booking, and I press next. It will automatically pull through the endpoint assessment organisation which is attached to the candidate, and it asks you some generic questions if the EPO is required to bring anything along with them. In the majority of cases, this is not applicable and there's nothing that you would fill in on this screen, and it is all optional. However, I would suggest to you that using the additional notes field can be helpful for your candidates. For example, see additional needs requirements for test on candidate apprentice record. That acts as a useful reminder to the endpoint assessment organisation that this candidate has additional needs. Yes, we would expect them to check the full record so that they're aware of everything about the candidate, but it is also useful at any time to recognise that we are all human beings and sometimes things get missed. So having a helpful prompt like that can avoid any difficulty with the assessment. Simply click The next button. This then gives you the option of adding any additional apprentices onto this singular booking. Pearson will be publishing guidance later on today, or before the tool goes live at least, which will tell you whether they are going to accept multiple bookings, and if so, on which basis. My strongest possible suggestion to you at the moment is to read that guidance and make sure you follow it. For the purposes of this, we're going to follow the recommended process of only having one apprentice per booking. I'm not adding any further apprentices here, but if I was, I merely press the add button and it will add them. To remove them, you press remove. You cannot remove the first apprentice that was added to the record because the booking is not yet complete. If you've added the wrong primary apprentice and you no longer wish to proceed, you can press back and press cancel and cancel this booking that you're making. Next. Now, on all assessments, you are going to request a particular assessment date. You will select the date from dates that have been made available by Pearson. Pearson will update their availability on a regular basis so that you have a selection of dates to pick from the endpoint assessment, and only pick from within the range of dates that are available based on a variety of circumstances at Pearson's end. To request a particular assessment date, you click on the box and it produces the calendar. For example, you will note that Saturday and Sunday is excluded on this booking. I'm going to book this for Monday the 20th, so for 2 weeks' time, and I'm going to make it an online assessment. If it was in person, then you would need to select where the assessment was going to take place. But for the purposes of this, I'm just going to select online. And then you can press submit. If you have any particular preference of time, whilst it cannot be guaranteed that the particular time slot is available, I would suggest that you put in the notes, for example, candidate is only available between 9 to 10 and 1500 to 1600, for example. Next, submit. Are you sure you want to send this booking request? Yes. Successfully saved the booking. This now sits as a pending booking for your organisation. What will happen in the background is Pearson will go through a process of assigning an assessor to your booking, making sure that everything's available, confirming the time slot on the booking, etc. When a booking is confirmed, the apprentice will receive an email confirming the booking and outlining all the requirements of that booking, so telling them who, what, where, why, when, how. You will also get confirmation on your dashboard. So a confirmed booking. Teresa, I see that you've just said W in your question. If you could just retype that for me, I'm going to delete that question. If you could retype your question, I'll answer it as soon as it pops up in the box, if it's something I can deal with just now. Your confirmed booking appear in your confirmed status, and you can access all the information on this by clicking here. It confirms all the details that were in the box. Now, the important thing to note here is in the additional notes field, you'll find that the link for an online booking has been placed in the additional notes field. This is the link. Yes, it will, Teresa, and Pearson will continue to issue the paper tests as normal, but you would need to book the date, etc., through the system as well, so that the date of the assessment being undertaken is booked for your particular standard. If it is an online test, the link which the apprentice needs to click on to undertake the test will appear in this section. We confirm the time of the assessment and the date and the assessment type, confirms the apprentice, and confirms the apprentice type that it applies to. Jumping back, completed bookings is literally as it says in the tin. It tells you that these bookings have now passed and they've been completed, and you're literally waiting for the results to get uploaded onto the other part of the system that you're much more familiar with. But the obvious question is, what happens if a booking needs to be cancelled? So there is the booking for a Helen Smith for an HR consultant pattern. I want to cancel this booking. Manage booking, request cancellation. Please provide the reason for cancellation. It's really important that you do provide it. Request cancellation, and that's how you request a cancellation for that. No, it's still through the PAD system, Kevin, or whatever testing systems that Pearson use, and interviews will still be used through the GoToMeeting accounts. It's just the link will appear automatically on the booking, so that it's given directly to the people involved on it. But thanks very much for that question. When a booking is cancelled, the endpoint assessment organisation will have to receive the cancellation and approve the cancellation. Once the cancellation is approved, the apprentice gets an email to tell them that it has been cancelled and it needs to be rebooked. And it will automatically mean that that component will be available for you to book a new endpoint assessment appointment for it. From your point of view as a training provider, it is as simple as that. It is as simple as make the booking, request the date, get the confirmation back, and the assessment will go ahead. Yeah, Teresa, I've just seen, bear with me 1 second. Teresa, will this booking system be mandatory when it goes live? Yes, it will be for Pearson. Claire, I have an EPA rejected because of Annex A, B and C forms were not signed. However, we have uploaded a voice recording from the candidate giving their authority. We're told that this would be acceptable due to the current situation. Could you please advise? Teresa, I'm going to leave that question for Andy to pick up with you outside this and have a chat. It's not really a question for me to answer, but I'm sure at the end of this, Andy will come back on that question. Yeah, Justin, thank you for that question. Is the webinar guide going to be posted online anywhere? Yes, there are training guides for all of our site. If you haven't seen it, on ace360.org/training-guides/ in this, you will see there is a specific guide for the scheduling tool. And in addition to your normal training manual, which is here, which covers all other aspects of the system, there's now this specific training guide. And a number of training providers have asked us about how to shrink video sizes and how to reduce a file into a zip file or shrink the size of files. We've produced that for you as well. Is this webinar going to be posted? Yeah, it's going to be posted. The recording will be posted after this session online. We've now covered the booking tool from the provider. We believe that this will give you much more control over your bookings. It will make sure that your apprentices are getting the confirmation, and it will make sure that you are able to track how long it's taking to get bookings confirmed back to you, and it will give you a full oversight of the booking process and a bit of control. Hopefully it cuts down the number of emails having to fly back and forward or number of calls going in, because it gives you a very simple step-by-step process to get a booking confirmed for your EPA components. As always, with anything, if your organisation requires particular support, support can fall into two categories. If you're having trouble using the ACE360 system, or you've come getting an error, or you're not sure how to do something, or you wish additional training for your team or teams on how to use ACE360, please contact our support desk at ACE360, which is support@ace360.org, support@ace360.org, and we will be delighted to arrange a one-to-one webinar with you or your team to show you how to use the system. There are a couple of other updates which I'm going to cover with you. The first is knowledge base. This was added to the system about 3-4 weeks ago. If you select an endpoint assessment organisation from your list, it will only show you endpoint assessment organisations that you work with. And you select that drop-down list, you will be presented with a host of generic guidance from your endpoint assessment organisation, be it appeals processes, reset processes, general information for the EPO. They will appear in this section. If it is standard specific guidance, if you select from this drop-down menu, it will show you a host of guidance documents for particular standards. It will not show you all the standards in this list. It will only show you the standards that you have added onto your ACE360 account. So you're not going to get a list of all 544. You're only going to get the ones that are on your account. And if you select that list, if there is guidance documents available, they will appear there. Like the course system, you can press the preview button to open the evidence in a new guide, in a new tab, like that. Or you can download it by pressing the download button and it will download it to your PC for your guidance. You can only see guidance from EPOs that you're approved to work with on the system. We have also improved. Yes, Karen, thanks very much for your question. Is there a help facility within ACE360 or a sets of notes we can access from the whole process? I'll just open this on the training page, so ace360.org/training-guides. If you click Training Provider User Guide, it will open the user guide for you and it will take you to the contents page. As you can see, it's a very large training guide and it's step-by-step process. If you click on, so for example, I want to add a new apprentice record. As soon as my new apprentice has started on program, I'm adding them right away. I click on that button and it takes me to that exact page of support that you need. If you then want to jump to another support page, you go and find it on the contents list. It's like, for example, there's a whole load of new filters. You want to know how to work with them. Click on that and it will take you to the step-by-step filtered guide. And you can, if I zoom in on that, it talks you through each bit and how to actually add filters and filters the reports. That's all available on the ace360.org/training-guides, and it takes you straight to that page. What I'll do is I've just popped that into the chat box so that you can copy and paste it, and I will also put the support email in that box as well. The support team are available Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. Please do use us. We're here to support you. In terms of other questions about cancellations of bookings or evidence queries or anything like that, or sample portfolios and stuff like that, you need to contact Pearson. For ACE360, it's only about questions about how to use the system or to get training and support how to use the system. All other questions about candidate-specific matters, such as acceptable evidence, should be directed to Pearson. Moving on to the report section. We've also updated this grade distribution report section so that if you're working with a number of endpoint assessment organisations across a number of different sectors, you can now get graphical representations of what your overview of an organisation is like in whole, or if you're a training coordinator or a training manager or a skills coach, then it will only show you this based on the records that you're attached to. You can then filter this by particular sectors, standards, particular levels of standards, particular endpoint assessment organisations you work with, or if you're an admin or super admin, you can filter it to view a particular training coordinator that's working for you. We have one more thing to cover on your cover today or your session today, and that's how to appeal, how to use the appeals functionality. To an appeal and to lodge an appeal, you'll see from your dashboard that if you click on your notification of results, so you have 2 candidates that have failed, I'm going to click on Jasmine Smith, and she has failed. And if you bear with me just 1 second, because in typical fashion, someone's already been in here this morning. There we go. That other record, somebody had already submitted an appeal and it had been dealt with. So I'll use Nathan Lee now. Nathan's final result has come back. You've been into the shared documents, you've seen the feedback document, the notification of results. The candidate has failed, you've seen the reason. You have spoken to your apprentice about this, and your apprentice has indicated that they wish to appeal the final grade. Please bearing in mind that the decision to appeal must come from the apprentice, and you must have proof that the apprentice has made that decision to appeal. It is not a decision in accordance with the rules that the training provider can make without the consent of the apprentice. But I'm sure that you're all aware of that, because I've spoken to most of you myself or given you support at some time myself. To this candidate, having you spoken to them about the results and reviewed the information that you've been given by Pearson, tells you that they wish to appeal their final grade. To appeal, you click Actions, Submit Appeal. You then have to select what the reason for the appeal are. Now, you will find in Pearson's guidance that they will give you reasons that an appeal might be accepted, and I would strongly encourage you to select from those reasons for appeal because it helps simplify the process, or you can type your own reason for appeal. Candidate advises that 2 of the questions on the final test were not in the teaching materials. I'm going to use that one as an example. So effectively a rogue question or 2 rogue questions have appeared in the online test and the candidate wants to appeal because that wasn't knowledge they could have expected to have. Upload supporting documentation. I would encourage you to make sure that this is the email or the letter of consent to appeal from the apprentice, something indicating that the apprentice has agreed to it, or any supporting documentation for the appeal. So if you have, for example, the section in the teaching syllabus that says these questions shouldn't have been asked, or something from the assessment plan, you might want to copy that, highlight the relevant section and upload it to the document. Like everything else in the system, you press Upload Document, you select the document and hit Submit. This automatically moves the candidate into the submitted appeal base, and on your dashboard, he or she will sit here as a submitted appeal. Pearson will then undertake the appeal, and if once the result is available for the appeals, it will either go to one of 2 states. It will either go to grade unchanged, so the appeal has been unsuccessful, or grade changed. If the grade has changed, I'm going to go into this file. you will see that the appeal button here has gone green, and you can see the date you made the appeal, the reason that you entered it for the appeal, the evidence you submitted, the date the decision of the appeal was given, what the previous grade was and what the new grade was, and any documentation that the endpoint assessment organisation has put up for the appeal. This enhances all your data and documentation being in one place for each apprentice. We have now covered the appeals functionality on how to use the system. We've covered booking tool, we've covered the new reports and filters, we've covered the knowledge base on the system. There is one other new functionality which I'm going to show you, which is not in the booking tool, but in the main apprentice record part. And this is to do with one of the big bugbears that I've heard from training providers and from endpoint assessment organisation, which is the process of submitting projects. We have listened to that feedback at ACE360, and as a charity, with our charitable aims being to help the industry and do everything we can to support you in training your apprentices, we have made an improvement to the system. When a candidate is approved for endpoint assessment, a new button now becomes available called Submit EPA Evidence to My EPAO. Now, this is a button to allow you to submit evidence directly to the endpoint assessment box. For example, a portfolio or a project. When the portfolio or project is complete, you can press Submit EPA Evidence, select which component that it belongs to, and it is sod's law that project isn't on the list that I was looking for there, but if project was there, I would click on project, I would upload the document like so, and hit the confirm button. And it automatically submits that project to the correct box, which means you no longer have to upload it to the shared documents area, because it will automatically place a copy of the document that we just uploaded to this box. It will place a copy of that in your upload so that you can still access the document, because of course you cannot access anything that is in the EPA component boxes because they belong to the EPAOs. Yes, Karen, thank you very much for that question. I will show you that right now. So Karen has asked, have you got a function for resubmitted evidence so that the EPO can determine new from old? Yes, we do. So when a candidate does go to a resit, and I'm just going to filter to resit accepted, you'll now see that for this candidate, it's attempt 3. So they've had 2 previous attempts. There's attempt 1, attempt 2, which is hidden by these toggle buttons. And for attempt 3, you would upload the evidence, select observation practical assessment on this one, upload it, confirm, and it will pop it in the correct box for you here. So that deals with any resubmissions of evidence because parts were missing, etc. So I hope that answers the question for you. Very small change in functionality to the system by adding this box, but I hope that you'll see the advantages of it, that it gets it straight to the right place against the right component and deals with that process for you. And it's a bit more clear and transparent than uploading things to the shared documents area, where it was possible that evidence could become confused for what its use was. In summary and reminder, the booking tool is new. I appreciate it's a new process for you. If you feel you need help and support, please contact us and we will support you and help you with it. We will be running a host of training sessions for all the assessors and the staff at Pearson. We've already done a significant amount of work, and we hope that you will start to see that process impact on the efficiency and quickness of responses for all your EPOs that are using the booking tool, but in this particular case for Pearson. In terms of how this works, the biggest piece of advice I can give you is to load your candidates to ACE360 as soon as they commence program, because it gives the endpoint assessment organisation the opportunity to look at future demand for assessments and to assess whether they need more assessors, they need more licenses for the online test modules, and to make sure that they have the requisite number of people available to provide you the best possible service. There is one other thing to reiterate to you as well on that, and I just need to go to a candidate that's in training and not submitted for EPAO. As you will all recall, when you add a candidate to the system, you put their start date in, and it asks you, the gateway time for this standard is 21 months. Is that when you expect this candidate to go forward for gateway? And you can either say yes or no at that stage. If you say yes, it will automatically populate this date to be 21 months from that date there. You can edit this by clicking edit and changing the expected gateway end date. If this candidate on this standard was expected to take 21 months, if the candidate is going to complete in say 19 months, you would want to change that to the 9th of July. That makes a significant difference to the EPO because of reports that they can run from their side, which gives them an idea of level and demand for endpoint assessors and also how many are coming forward. But what it also allows you as the training provider to do is to report on your average time on program versus your average success rate versus your distinction rate versus your pass rate, and really gather information about how you are performing as a training provider and what's happening with your candidates. Those kind of reports, which we covered here for grade distribution, can be essential for you as training providers to win business, and showing the quality of your service and the time you get through program. Use these tools to be helping you go out and win new training business so that apprentices are coming through with you guys. That concludes the presentation that I've got to go through with you today. I have one question to come back to with Kevin, which I'll deal with in a moment. But if anyone else has any questions, please pop them in the questions box, and either Andy or I will answer them. If there are none other, thank you very much indeed for your time. If you just hold on to Andy summarises for us once I've finished the questions, then we can take it from there. Kevin, you have asked a question about, does the API function work with Solution 9? I have not heard of Solution 9. I don't know who it's provided with, which provider, whether it's Pix, Metash, Yeti. It's not one that I've heard of, but our API is an open API. Any system provider can add into our API by setting it up from their side, and we have lots and lots of technical specification documents to help them do that. So please email our support team about that, and we'll get back to you. If that's not somebody that's already integrated with us, then you can go to them with all our support guides and they can do their integration from their side and make that available for you. We're a charity. We will make as available as many API functions as we can to make this process easier for everyone. I hope that answers the question, Kevin, but if it doesn't, please feel free to come back to me on that at any time. Teresa has asked a question, can I double check if we add an apprentice earlier on in program that will be credited if cancelled? Thank you, Teresa. Yes, if the candidate leaves the program within the first 3 months of their start date, the token is automatically credited back to your account. But part of the reason why we've set it at 13 weeks, but the official guidance is 3 months, The reason for that is because of levy funded. Because the ACE360 token cost of £5 is recoverable under total negotiated price box number 1 on the form TNP1, we can't refund it after the 12 weeks period. We've made the decision to make it 13 weeks on the system to give you a week to actually process it, just in case we miss it off. So we've made it slightly longer than the 12 weeks, and I will show you how to withdraw a candidate very quickly. If I click on Able Adult here, actions, withdraw this apprentice, give your reason of why the apprentice is withdrawn, employer dismissed, for example, press the withdraw button, and that moves that candidate to the withdrawn status. You can always view withdrawn candidates here, and if you noticed earlier on, there were 500 tokens available on this account. There are now 501. Please remember that tokens do not expire on ACE360. They will sit there until you use them. I would encourage people, I know a lot of training providers buy them one at a time or two at a time, etc., and they're purchasing them on debit card. I would encourage you to look at how many you expect to be coming on program. I know that's very difficult at this time, particularly with COVID, but your rough guesstimates of how many starts you're going to have in the next 3-4 months, and purchase that number of tokens. If you don't use them all, they're still going to be available for later use. They are not going to expire. If the candidate withdraws, it will be recredited back to your account. I hope that covers off for you, Teresa, and handles that for you. And
okay, so thanks very much, Dan. That was really useful. Just to summarise and sort of talk about next steps. So this recording will be made available using the registration link that you clicked into earlier. With the questions, we'll be pulling a set of FAQ responses, and they will be uploaded onto the website. With regards to the booking tool going live, for any existing bookings, they will still remain current. There will be no change. However, from the 15th of this month, this is when Pearson will be actively using the booking and scheduling tool. If you've got any further queries or comments, please feel free to email epadelivery@pearson.com, or you can also go to your business development manager or curriculum development manager. So I'd just like to say a big thank you. Thank you for your time. I hope you found it useful, and I hope you have a good rest of the afternoon. Thank you.